Hello everyone. You've stumbled upon my booktube channel. Welcome. Thank you so much for being here. I am Baron and this is the booktube channel, The Book Baron. What are we talking about today? So this is actually me from the past realizing that I didn't do an intro.
Oh wow, sometimes I really just wish I could fire myself. I'm coming from the future. I recorded this after the clips. Good lord, girlfriend.
What we're talking about today are 3 really popular romances that I will intro better once we get into the clips.
And 5 seconds later, I have to make another correction. Good for me. I'm reading dark romances. Popular dark romances. Strike number 2 in my case to fire myself.
But I'm going to be reading The Never King by Nikki St. Crow. I will also be reading Haunting Adeline by Miss High Definition Carlton, HD Carlton. And I will also be reading a little bit more of a classic, Bully by Penelope Douglas. This is a rough vlog. I have a lot of very strong opinions and thoughts, and some of them are good and some of them are very not. So hang in there. I'm gonna get into The Never King first. I'll have past me intro what this book is about. Hi, I'm back on my living room floor. Very exciting stuff. I have a little bit more information for you about The Never King by Nikki St. Crow. So it's the first in a series of like 5 or 6 novellas. It's about 200 pages long. It's a dark Peter Pan retelling. Why choose? So I am about like 40% in. The book starts off with quite literally a bang. So that really hooked me. Winnie is our main character. She's a couple generations removed from the original Wendy Darling, and all the Darling women get kidnapped on their 18th birthday for some reason by Peter Pan. Her mom was like trying to protect her. She took a lot of extreme measures in order to try and make that happen, to the point that I'm like, that's abuse. And also her mom, she's not doing so well mentally after coming back from Neverland. So she's really trying to prevent this from happening to her daughter. But because she's traumatized by what happened, she's kind of making some messed up decisions. So Winnie, she's a fascinating character. She uses her body and sex to get things that she wants from both like in the real world, and she's starting to like try and do that also in Neverland. Already we're getting some spicy scenes. They felt a little jarring, to be honest. It felt like it came out of nowhere, that there wasn't a lot of buildup. I get that this is a novella, but there was really not a lot of relationship building. There wasn't a lot of like really good world building, and there was a lot of repetition and then just like a spicy scene. So I was a little thrown off by that. I'm kind of getting the sense that the world isn't really going to be built out that much because the focus is really on like Winnie's internal status. We're told a lot that it's a dark world, but I haven't really seen a ton of that. It's fine. There's some fae elements introduced. All right, I guess this is where we're going. And we do get some POVs from the other like lost boys. A lot of them in their heads being like, oh, they don't know what a bad person I am. I'm like, yeah, okay. You seem fine to me. It's a little campy. I think if you're sensitive to repetition, the beginning portion is gonna really bug you. Winnie's just kind of like around in her bedroom situation that they've got her set up in. Pan's running around smoking. We're getting no answers about anything. We don't know why she was taken. I don't know why it needs to happen on her 18th birthday. There's a lot of, so far, just rules for the sake of rules. So I think I need to just adjust my expectations at this point and realize that the Pan world building is not going to happen. It's being used as like a shortcut to get to sexy times. I am going to, I think, just read the rest of this and then update you on my thoughts. I'm already done. Hopefully the lighting isn't too crazy different. It's a couple hours later. I think the book is fine. All my original thoughts, I think, really still stand. Winnie is really the reason that I continue to read, and the reason I would continue to read on. The plot I thought was kind of like lackluster. Like attempts were made, but I didn't think it was like the best. Again, I'm still shocked that there was downtime considering how much was kind of like jammed into the later portions. There's a lot of like, oh, I can't tell you. And then her trying to get the information out. I'm like, just freaking tell her. There's no reason not to tell her. Just tell her. So that really got frustrating. We get a villain POV at one point, which kind of like wrecks the discovery of like what's actually kind of going on. I didn't think it added to it. A character from the original tale is brought back up kind of at the end, and it's this big betrayal situation, I think. But like you could see it coming from a mile away. We were basically told that this is what was going on from the villain. But I would still maybe continue on because I do like Winnie. I think maybe with more time, there will be more answers and more of that world building that I'm looking for would occur. So I don't love it. I don't hate it. The spice wasn't really for me. It felt forced. The darkness felt forced. There was on-page killings that kind of felt like they were for no reason other than to be like, this is a dark world. I'm like, okay, but why? Give me some rules, give me some structure, give me a reason why it's dark. Other than like Pan's an asshole. I'm moving on to the next book. I'm going to be reading Haunting Adeline, and the premise of this, it's a stalker romance. This is by H.D. Carlton. Adeline is an author. She inherited her grandparents' property. She's renovating it, and in the process somehow gains herself a stalker. I'm excited for that. Our stalker is supposed to be a hacker. I love hackers. That's kind of all that I know. This is a little bit of a longer book, so balance out the novella, but I will get you updated maybe when I'm about like 30% in. I hope it's going well.
Some quick context before I get into this clip. It's about a week later after I just got done reading The Never King. You may now proceed.
Apologies in advance for the bizarre lighting. It's morning, so the sun's kind of intense, so we're working with what we've got. I was just reading before work, and I wanted to give you a bit of an update on Haunting Adeline. So, what's going on? We got our stalker man Zaid. He's been leaving roses. We've got Adeline, who's like trying to solve this mystery of like who killed her grandmother or great-grandmother, something like that. But that's kind of where we're at. There's been physical contact between Zaid and Adeline. So we're seeing some progression with like the stalking slash the relationship. Ugh. But I don't know that I like where it's going. So I do want to preface this right now by saying I enjoy stalker romances. Sophie Lark's There Are No Saints, There Is No Devil duet, loved that. And I also don't mind dubcon and non-con elements in my romances. I think there's a way to do it. I just don't know that this book is doing that. I'm about 40%-ish in, and they just had a little encounter that I didn't like. Because Adeline's internal monologue during the entire dubcon, non-con situation, she's crying. Like, girlfriend's not having a good time. And Zeta's kind of like, well, fear turns her on. And I'm like, yeah, but like, you're shoving a gun in her, sir. I'm really conflicted on how to feel about this, because when I've seen other people talk about these books, they're like, oh, Zaid's the best. And I'm like, Zaid is supposed to be saving people from the skin trade. That's like his thing. That's his MO. He's like a hacker that's an activist, busts down doors and goes in and saves these people. And yet he's inflicting the same shit on our girl. I'm like, that feels a little bit inconsistent to me. That said, he could still redeem himself. Maybe Adeline reconceptualizes this encounter later on, but for the moment, I'm just kind of like, well, that's not what I wanted. I will say the things that I am liking. Adeline is not immediately giving in. She's like, screw this guy. Like, who does he think he is to tell me what to do? I'm like, yes.
Super mild spoilers ahead.
So I like that aspect of things. I like Adeline's personality in general. Like, at one point, she was like, oh fuck, this guy can hack. Is he going to get my nudes, and then would those get out there? And her concern was not like, my body's gonna be out on the internet. Her concern was that her privacy was violated. And she was like, my body's banging. She's like the antithesis to like the Bella Swans. She knows what she wants. She's like, I've got things to do, and this stalking is in my way, and you're not gonna run me out of my house. I just think that that's a good time. I like that type of character. For me right now, she's the standout, but I'm not sold on Zaid. Everyone loves Zaid though, so maybe he redeems himself. Please redeem yourself. I will update you once I get like 60% in. I'm really hoping that this turns around a little bit, because with the Never King kind of being just like so-so, I'm like, I really want this to be good. I want to like what other people like. Hi friends, I'm back in front of my couch reading.
Additional context is needed. It's about like 5 days later after the previous update.
I am here to update you on Haunting Adeline. I got about 50% in, and I'm still not having a great time, which makes me sad. I want to love this book so bad. I want to be in it with everybody else, and I'm just like, so far, I'm just like not there. So disappointing. Ugh. Anyway, so we did get another spicy scene, and it went pretty much the same. The tone of it was kind of similar, where it's like, and I only say that because I didn't love the one previous I did get a little bit of context, or we get a little bit of context as to what's going on in his head, which helped me because I just need a different way to conceptualize it. His justification is like he's trying to push her, and not in a like you don't know what you want. It's a she's doing things intentionally to antagonize him, knowing that that's going to be the outcome, but not feeling comfortable enough to want those things outright, because she's filled with too much shame, which I think like that's actually like somewhat understandable, especially if you come from like a purity culture background and no longer subscribe to that type of thinking. I know that people actually do struggle with in real life, but for me, I'm still not enjoying the spicy times. But I'm also just like not really invested in a lot of the plot either. There's several things going on. I just don't care that much. And that's what's making it hard to push through, right? Like, I think if there was like something for me to grab onto right now, like I feel like I would have an easier time pushing through. I want a DNF horribly much, but I feel like if so many people liked it, like surely there's something as I'm like getting further into the book that I'll like. I'm going to continue on for now, but a DNF may be on the horizon. I hope my mind changes. I don't want a DNF. I don't want a DNF. I'll keep you updated when I get maybe like 75% in, or I quit. Hi friends, I'm back with a not good update. My knee's in the shot. We don't like that. Put her away. I got about 10% further in and I gotta call it. I don't like this book. I'm so sad. I wanted to push through because I thought maybe if I could get to a point where the relationship was built up a little bit more, or some of the subplot elements had really taken off, that maybe then I would be more interested. But straight up, the spice is picking up, which is an element I'm not liking. It's still bad. It's still not my fave. In fact, we were left for like 20% of the book where Adeline, she doesn't deconstruct what happened to her at all. We're just left with these dub-con, non-con situations and no other way to think about it other than what Zaid is telling us. And then when she does deconstruct it, she's like, well, I was conflicted. At first I didn't want it, but then I sort of liked it. But ultimately settles on like, it's SA. And I was like, well, how the heck else am I supposed to think about? The main female character is like, that was SA? Then I have to think of it as SA. I have no other option. So that was really frustrating. I need to reiterate, I do like dark romances. I like some pretty twisted stuff, but this is just like the way this is done, I think is just kind of what's not working for me. The other thing is, although the subplots have like sort of picked up, I still don't care. I don't care about Grandma Gigi. I've been given no reason other than, I almost called her Lana. Ma'am? Addie cares about her grandmother and it's her grandmother. I have zero other attachment to this woman. I don't care. I don't care that she was murdered. I don't care that she was stalked. That sounds cold. But hopefully you get what I'm saying. Like, I don't care because I don't have a reason to care about this character other than her relation to the main character. It's not enough for me. We're also not getting enough information to like piece anything together or like I'm not finding the mystery portion of this engaging. Personally. And then the subplot with Zaid, y'all. Okay, I am fascinated by the Satanic Panic. I think it's interesting to see basically the United States as the whole be swept up in rumor conjecture that has zero evidence. Like, we just all bought into this, like, this thing that was ultimately made up. Like, no one died because of the Satanic Panic. So the subplot is kind of got some of those elements. There's like occult elements. And in fact, okay, hopefully you find this as funny as I do. At one point, they're looking at some potential offenders and they're like, oh, they have Ouroboros necklaces, a clear sign of the occult. I mean, also they're like murdering kids, so that was probably also another giveaway. But fun fact, friends, I have an Ouroboros tattooed on my back. So spank me and call me a witch. I feel called out. It's also not what it means. It represents like the cycles of life and like a million other things, but it's not representative of the occult. That was just, it was too corny. It was too corny. That's what it comes down to. I think Zaid's subplot is corny. There's nothing about it that's compelling. And he's taking down like really bad people, but if I don't buy into their badness, and it's a little bit more difficult to care about him being successful in his mission. It's been 2 weeks too, is the other thing. I finish a book, no exaggeration, in 1 to 2 days. Sometimes 3 if I'm busy. This is taking me 2 weeks and I still have 40% left of the book. I have so many better things to do with my life. So I'm leaving it here. If you like this book, I'm very happy for you. I want to be that person. So this is not an indictment on you. It's not an indictment on dark romance. This is not me bashing this book or bashing anything that it represents, other than it just doesn't align with my taste. I am simultaneously bored and horrified. So I just need to move on. I need to move on. I'm moving on to The Bully by Penelope Douglas. I've read several other Penelope Douglas books. In general, I like what they write. They do have some corny elements as well, but they write books that are very cathartic for my former self, or like high school me. This book is a little bit on the older side. I'm hoping that, one, because I've read from Penelope Douglas and I kind of know what to expect, that I'll enjoy my experience more. I'm also just needing something a little bit lighter, and I wanted to pick something older because I felt like the previous 2 books that I picked for this vlog are newer ones. They're very popular currently, and I think maybe that writing style just doesn't work for me. So I'm hoping if I pick something a little bit older that I'll like it better. I'm gonna update you when I'm about like maybe 30% in. Hopefully I'm having a better time with that book. Fingers crossed. Okay, bye. Hi friends, I'm back and I have a good update this time. So I'm having a much better time with Bully by Penelope Douglas. I think this is kind of confirming to me that maybe I just don't like the current style of writing darker romances. This is also a little bit lighter, so like I don't really know how dark I really consider this. I digress. So what do we have going on? So we've got our girl Tatum. She is getting picked on by her former friend and neighbor Jared, who is our hero. The bullying is pretty rough, but when the book opens, she's sort of accepted her lot in life. She's like, I just need to get through these experiences, not let them get to me, and I'm gonna go have my year in Paris abroad, and then I'm gonna come back for senior year, and hopefully like things will have settled down. I just need to get past these like last few horrible interactions. So she's feeling like really defeated at the start of the book. We do a time jump. Obviously we don't see the time in Paris because what fun would that be? She is now back. She's now maybe hotter. She is just trying to survive her senior year. Her dad is not at home at the moment. He had to go to Germany, I believe, for something with work. So she's living on her own. So you see what I'm talking about when I say it's like very cathartic for like your former self. Like that's like the high school dream. Your parents just trust you so much because you're such a good girl. They let you stay home by yourself. But anyway, so it's a fun setup because there's no parents around. And she's just like, I've got so much to do. I've got science fair. I've got my cross country meets. Like I've got a lot going on. Jared has decided not to let up on her. But Tatum, she's biting back. She's getting nasty. It's entertaining, but it is a little sad because only about half the time is she finding it satisfying. She's having a little bit of, in the moment, it feels so good, and then she regrets it later on. They're based on how the people around her react, or just the fact that it wasn't as cathartic as she had kind of hoped. Again, that just feels like very high school. You lash out in these moments of extreme distress and then immediately are like, oh damn, I shouldn't have done that. But in the moment, it felt really good. I like her character. I tend to like the female characters in most books because they speak to some part of me. This is going down easy. Like this is candy for me. So I think I'm just gonna read the rest of this book. Okay, bye. Hi friends, I finished Bully. So before I gush about everything that I loved, I do just want to bring up like a few things that I think will bug other people, and I don't personally love either in the book. There's other woman drama. It is very over the top. There is straight up a cat fight at one point. Oh, my hair is doing me no favors. She's very like, not like other girls. In fact, Jared even says it at one point, and I was like, ugh, cringe. Again, this is an older book, and I think that type of heroine was like really popular for a while. I let it slide because I kind of suspected that that's what I was gonna get going in. Outside of that, there's a fun racing scene. I loved that. Our girl's into cars. I was like, what a fun trait and a fun hobby to have in a female protagonist. I love Fast and Furious. I grew up on a steady diet of it. Some other things that I really liked. Tatum, I felt like really did read like a high school student that was really really trying her best, but also like messing up. And the thing that I really liked is that she prioritized her friendship. Even when Jared tried to become between her and her friend, she might lash out in the moment, but she was quick to try and repair that relationship. And I loved that, because again, I just think that type of like, I hate you, I'm like, oh, I'm sorry, that's very high school. You just have like no forethought. Sometimes you just react on instinct, and then people will be like, why'd you do that? I'm like, I have no clue, I couldn't tell you, I just did. So I just felt like she was a well-written high schooler who was trying to be mature, who is mature, but you know, she's still a teenager. It was very cathartic for me, because as like someone who was kind of a chronic goody two-shoes, but also got picked on quite a bit, Tatum's character, I was like, I remember feeling like this. It's easy to look back and be like, just because you're making all the right decisions doesn't mean that you just get handed a plaque at the end. I thought it was interesting with Jared. His reasons for bullying, I thought they were just okay. I did find it kind of believable. Realistically, the reason given was kind of like, okay, whatever. But I do think that that's kind of like true to that age. Again, you don't have a ton of insight into your actions sometimes, and I think that Jared was still kind of working through it through most of this book. I will say too that the last maybe 10%, there is a conflict that arises where external parties do something, and it was very like offsides by Avery Keelan, where I was just kind of like, I didn't need that. I didn't want it. And I was like, there was enough to work through that was already introduced in the book, that last bit of conflict, I was like, oh, we could have just like cut it off there. Like, no one needed that. That aside, those were my problems with the book, but overall, I gobbled this up like candy. I had such a good time. This went down so smooth for me after those past 2 books. So again, I think this is confirming for me that I need to be a little bit more leery of like current releases for dark romances, because the writing style that's really popular with everyone else right now is maybe not to my liking. Okay, with that said, thank you so much for being here. If you liked any of the books that I was sort of like meh or didn't like, leave a comment and let me know what you liked about them. I love hearing different opinions. Sometimes it kind of makes me change my opinion and perspective on things. If you didn't like any of these books, let me know. Help me feel not so alone. I hope you stick around, subscribe, and I'll see you soon. Bye.